All right, hello everyone. So we are going to be looking at how to make a box and a lid on Onshape. We're going to be looking at using parametric modeling, and we are going to be focusing on how do I make two separate parts, and each of them can be printed separately. So the box and the lid can both be printed separately. We're going to learn several other skills, for example, projecting, uh, and extruding if you are not familiar with that. All right, so we're going to start off by creating a new document. We're going to call it box with lid. And here we go. All right, so the first thing we're going to see is our workspace. We're going to need to start by creating a sketch. We're going to create a sketch on the top plane. But before we do that, we're going to set out some parameters. So this basically allows us to create a model that we can make bigger or smaller very simply. And so, first of all, we're going to start off with our scale variable. And when you're naming any variables, you should well, often the convention is to have capitalize the second word, so scale variable. Um, and we are going to make that 10 millimeters. It doesn't really matter what this is, as long as the idea is we're going to make it something that every other variable is a multiple of, which means if we want to make this bigger or smaller, that will make the entire thing bigger or smaller. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So we've made that one. Now we're going to make length. So the length of our box, uh, and that is going to be 70 millimeters. But instead of typing 70 millimeters, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our scale variable and times it by 7. Now, why are we doing unnecessary maths, like maths when we don't need to? The reason is because, so scale variable times 7, uh, because the idea is, once again, once we change this, that'll change the length, but not only the length, it'll change the width, the height, and every other variable that we want to um, make. The word is parameterized, so every other variable we want to make connected to the scale variable. So let's do our width as well. And we're going to, we want it 50 millimeters long, but we'll do 5 times, so scale variable times 5. I'm doing this little star for times. Okay, and we're going to do height. We want it to be 30 millimeters, so if you can guess, scale variable times 3, or 10 times 3. And that'll do for now. Oh, we'll also do thickness of our box. I have been told there's an easier way to do this compared to the way we're doing now, but this way also gets us to learn some extra skills. So we'll do this way for now. So we'll do box thickness, and let's make that 5 millimeters, or scale variable. Now here's the thing, do we want to change the box thickness? I'm thinking no. I'm not going to make that linked to the scale variable because I want the box to be the same thickness no matter what. No matter how big the box is, because if we make it too thin, it'll break. If we make it too thick, it's a waste of material. So we're just going to go with 5 millimeters, and we'll just leave it at that. I might just change these to box length, box width, and box height. Okay, great. So we've got our variables. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually make the drawing. So we're going to click sketch, and we want to do our sketch on the top plane. And just before we do that, actually, we will minimize the variable table. So I can click on this X. If I want to bring it up again, I can click on it again. All right, so sketch, we'll make our sketch on the top plane. And just to make it easier, we'll click on top here so it'll orient us correctly. We're just going to draw a rectangle. This is going to be the base of our box, and it's going to be length times width. And you can see this is way too big, right? But do I have to get it exactly 70 millimeters? No, because what I'm going to do is dimension it in a second. So just roughly. And then we're going to dimension it. So this is the dimension tool over here. And when we click this, we're going to assign the dimensions of our base. So this is going to be box length, our longest side. You got to press enter, otherwise it won't do it. Click on the side you want to dimension, click box width, and you can see this is really easy, right? Um, so that's all good. What we're going to do is we're going to do um, another box inside of it so that we can extrude the right sections. So make the right sections 3D. And now I've just decided to exit my sketch. Doesn't matter, I can go back into it because we do need to make another sketch. So let's do another rectangle inside. And now what we're going to do is, you can actually dimension lines. Oh, gotta go back into my sketch to do this properly. You can actually, sorry, dimension spaces in between lines. So I just have to select these two lines. Now, instead of dimensioning the lines, it'll dimension the space in between. And I'm going to say that's equal to box thickness, which is our 5 millimeters. And so I'm going to do this with all of the other ones as well. Now, how's this actually worked? I actually forgot to press enter here, so that's actually not correct. Enter. All right, now this looks like it's worked. The thicknesses are all 5. No, this is 5.078, so I haven't clicked enter on this one either. Box thickness, 5 millimeters, enter. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude the outside area, that's going to be the walls of our box, and then the inside area, we're only going to extrude a little bit. Okay, so um, let's get out of our sketch, and hopefully this works. Now with extrusion, I find that it's easiest when you start with the sketch, but we'll see if we can do it. I also like to put it at an angle so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to click extrude, and we're going to just extrude the middle section. That's just going to be the bottom of our box. And we're going to extrude it. Uh, Actually, we can name this the variable as well, so box thickness here. And so that's great. And we want to extrude the walls to the height of the box instead. Oops, now we can see that our outside rectangle is gone. So what we can do is we can go back into the sketch by double clicking it, and we can extrude from here. So if I click extrude here and I click on this section here, it's already got a picture for us. All right. So, or I can do it the other way around. So if I wanted to go into the sketch, select this section by clicking it. No, it's not wanting to do that. Here we go. Select that section, and then that might be the easiest way. I think that's the most reliable way to do it. So now I can click extrude from there, and I can extrude it to our box height. Lovely, okay. Now, this is maybe a tricky part here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 pins. I would make 4, but you can make 4 if you like, but I'm just going to do it for speed. 1 here and 1 here. And these pins are going to stick up slightly and they're going to hold our lid. So we can actually get assign variables for these pins. So we're going to have pin diameter. We're going to make that 3 millimeters. I should go like that. Okay, 3 millimeters. And then we're going to go pin height. And again, I don't want to, if I make the box bigger or smaller, I don't want to change these pin diameter or pin heights. I think the pins are probably fine as it is. So we're going to go 5 millimeters. All right, so now let's make our pins. This is a bit fiddly, but I want these pins to be located exactly where I want them. And I want them basically in between, exactly in the middle of these 2 points here and here. And so there's a bit of a process to get there. We're going to start off, because this will be useful for multiple reasons, we're going to start off by creating a sketch on top of this section here. So selecting this and creating a sketch on top. what we'll find is that we don't automatically have all of these lines on the sketch. They won't turn up. So when I go sketch, um, and I look from the top, the sketch is there, sketch two, and we see these lines are here, but actually these lines are not on the sketch. These lines are just there because uh, it's from the extrude. So we want to make sure the lines get onto the sketch because otherwise we can't do anything with them. So we're going to click this project button. That will convert the physical extrusion, so the top of this box, these lines on the top of this box, every time I click on one of these lines, it'll get added to my sketch. So you can see it's gone a darker black here. That's indicating that it's actually not just part of the extrude now, it's a part of our sketch. We want all of these because this will help us make the lid in various ways. Okay, now we're not finished with our sketch. We are finished, but with finished projecting, or yeah, projecting. So we can click this to get rid of that. We're not doing that anymore. So uh, I think somebody in class told me if I go control and right click, I can move around. So that's beautiful. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to make our pins. So we're going to zoom in a little and I'm going to make a line between here and here. Now, some people might be thinking, why would I do that? That's not relevant. But in fact, you can see if I make this line, I've got this point here, which is just in the middle of the line. I'm going to use that to place a circle, and the pin will grow up, will be extruded up from the circle. So here we go. Now that circle is exactly in the middle of these two sections, these 2 points, just like I wanted. Now we better dimension this circle because we have decided on a pin dimension, or a pin diameter, sorry. And so we're going to click on that there. So how I did that, I just clicked on the circle and then that automatically dimensions the diameter of the circle. That's what clicking on the circle means or does. Right, so I'm going to go, I'm happy with that level of zoom. I'm going to go control and pan across here to get to my other corner. We're going to make a line here and here. And again, that line has the center, which we'll use to make our circle. It's too big, but it doesn't matter because we just dimension it. Pin diameter. All right, lovely. So now this is the central part of the entire thing, our tutorial. What we're doing now is we're we're going to decide what's a part of the box and what is going to be a part of the lid. Now anything that's a part of the box, we need to just extrude upwards as normal. So if I click on all of these, I want to just do one extrusion for both the pins, or what am I doing? So I'm just going to select all of the pin areas. I'm going to click extrude. And I want you to see that what I'm doing is adding because I'm adding these pins to the box like I've been doing with all of the parts of the box so far. I've just been adding them all together in one big shape. But if we were to click new, that would actually make a new part. And so we're going to later do this for the lid. We're going to click new and that will actually make a completely new part. Here's our current part. That'll make a new part, which is the lid. But so because we just want to add these pins to the box, we want them to be attached to the box. We're happy with add, that's perfect. And so how big do we want to extrude them? We want to extrude them by pin height. So if we click OK here, you can see there's some shadow over here that's nice. Tells us that we've actually made the pin. We can also move right click and have a look. Okay, so let's go back to the top. Zoom out a little. Oh, good, it's already zoomed out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude from this sketch. So we're going to double click on our sketch because that's, again, the simplest. And in our sketch, we have these areas, right? So we have this area, which we'll select, this area. But this doesn't make a lid because we need to extrude it up from we need the center part as well, obviously, otherwise there'll be a big hole in the lid. And the reason this works is because this is a shape in our sketch, which means what we've selected actually is a 2D shape above the box. So if we extrude, we're not extruding from the bottom, which it might have looked like it was from the bottom, but we're extruding from just this one sketch plane, which is all this area over here. And we're going to extrude that up. We're going to make it a new part, and we're going to make that the lid. So let's extrude, having selected all the parts. Notice we're not selecting the pins, of course, because we don't want the pins to be part of the lid. We want there to be big holes in the lid, uh, and the pins will just go through the holes. Very simple. Okay, so let's click extrude, and we're going to extrude it by, well, should we make a new variable? Let's make it just box thickness. And that'll be the thickness of the lid. And we're going to go new. This is the most important part of the tutorial. This will allow a new part. So you can see that part 2 has now popped up over here. If I was to choose add, what's happened there? It's just disconnected. I'm going to go back into my extrude. If I was to choose add, well, it's not letting me, but new makes a new part. So let's click OK. Okay, so now I click on part 1. That's this box, and you can see that these little pins are highlighted in orange. So we successfully made the pins part of the box, but we did not make the lid part of the box because that's not orange. I'm going to deselect that, select part 2. That is our lid, it's separate. And I can actually 3D print both of these. I can right click, go export, and that can be a 3D print. And you might even, it's useful to know as well that this will not be hovering above the top plane. It won't be, hovering in midair. It'll be, when you open it in a 3D printing program, it'll be in the right place on the bottom. Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed, and see you another time.